This is the data overview for Douglas County High School. We were founded in 1937 and are the oldest school in the county. In 2007, we became the International Baccalaureate Magnet School for Douglas County School System. The purpose of this overview is to analyze school data and identify any trends or areas that may need improvement. The IB Diploma Program is the most rigorous academic program available to high school students. Currently, 26% of the student population are made up of students in the IB Diploma Magnet Program. As we look at the demographic data for the 2014-15 school year, you will notice that out of a total school population of 1,869 students, that 60% of students are Black, 24% are white, 9% are Hispanic, 4% are multiracial, and 3% are Asian. When you compare the demographic data over a 4-year time span, the total student population had a slight increase, with the lowest enrollment at 1,802 students and the highest enrollment at 1,869. Overall, the racial demographics remain consistent each year. This chart shows the number of students with exceptionalities over a 4-year period. Students with disabilities remain consistent, making up approximately 10% of the student population. English language learners stayed around 1% each year. When looking at the number of economically disadvantaged students, you do see a significant change. During the 2011-12 school year, 91% of the population received free or reduced lunch. The next year, it dropped to 65%, and by the 2014-15 school year, it was at 59%. This significant change from 91% to 59% could be in part to the economic crisis that was facing our country at the time, and the number of people who were unemployed during the recession. We see a decrease in economically disadvantaged students as the economy improved. Here are the CCRPI scores for Douglas County High School. The lowest score of 68.9 occurred in 2014, but increased 12.7 points the following year for the highest score of 81.6. English language arts is an area of strength for DCHS. On the Georgia High School Writing Test, our school performed at or higher than the state level, with the exception of year 13-14, which was only 2% less than the state score. The language arts strength pattern continued as you look at the 9th grade literature EOCT scores. All 3 years show higher scores at the school level than at the district level, and scores are very close to the state level, and even exceed the state in 2013-14. You can see that the percentage of students that meet or exceed at all 3 levels of school, district, and state are in the 80 to 90 percentile. Now let's take a look at what happened in 2014-15 when the new EOC assessment was given for 9th grade literature. DCHS still performed at the same level as the state and higher than the district, but notice that the scores for students who were proficient or distinguished learners drops from the high 80s, low 90s, to the high 30s. This is a huge difference. This is something you will continue to see as we move forward in this data overview, when we have to compare the EOCT scores to the EOC scores. One possible reason for this is that the EOCT was scored in 3 categories: does not meet, meet, or exceeds, while the EOC scores in 4 categories: beginning learner, developing learner, proficient learner, and distinguished learner. Therefore, with the EOCT, there were 2 out of 3 categories that were considered passing, or 67%, while the EOC, there is 2 out of 4 categories that are considered passing, or 50%. The scores from the American Literature EOCT show a higher exceeds or meets percentage than the district during all 3 years, but only 1 year is it higher than the state level. As we move to the EOC, you can see that scores are higher than the district or state, but still well below the percentage passing that was seen on the EOCT. There are also strengths shown in the social studies subject areas. The economics EOCT consistently showed higher exceeds or meet rates than the district or state. In looking at the EOC scores, our school significantly scored higher than the district or state, but at 60% are lower than the EOCT scores that were in the mid-80s. The U.S. History EOCT shows lower scores during the 2011-12 school year, but then greatly improves the next 2 years. This change could have been impacted by the adoption of new social studies textbooks, as well as a change in faculty prior to the 2012-13 school year. The U.S. History scores on the EOC still show a higher percentage passing than the district or the state, but the percentage decreases from low 70s to 49%. The area of math and science are where some weaknesses appear. In 2012 and 2013, students took Math 2. This course was then changed and renamed to be Coordinate Algebra. In looking at the 2 years it was Math 2, it is clear that our students are not performing at the same level as other students across the state. We then look at the course Math 2 became, which was Coordinate Algebra, and on that EOCT, we did score higher than the district and state. This course has another change as it moves from the EOCT assessment to the EOC. You not only see a big decrease in overall passing percentage, but the scores are higher than the district and only slightly lower than the state. Constant changes in curriculum, courses, and assessments have made it difficult for teachers and students. It's hard to tell with Math 2, or what is now Coordinate Algebra, exactly where we stand. The only thing for certain is that there is room for improvement. With biology, the scores are better than the district, but lower than the state. Although the scores barely hit 70% by the 3rd year, it is important to note that there have been steady increases over time. As we look at the EOC scores, they are once again much lower, but we remain higher than the district and close to the state scores. The same can be said for physical science. The school scores are lower than the district and state, but have shown improvement from 67% who passed or exceeded to 75.7%. The scores for the EOC do not reflect the previous success that was seen on the EOCT. The scores plummet from being around 70% passing to only 15% and are considerably lower than the state average. Once again, it is difficult to compare the EOCT scores against the EOC scores. Scores overall for the school, district, and state went lower once the EOC was implemented. It is still clear that there are specific strengths and weaknesses. DCHS has strong performances in English language arts and social studies. The areas needing improvement are in science and math. Based on the data that we have presented, the following questions need to be addressed. Why are our students scoring lower in science and math as compared to scores in reading, language arts, and social studies? What can we do to improve our teaching and students' achievement in the areas of science and math? How can we prepare our students to perform better on the newly formatted EOC assessments that include constructed response questions?